First on the agenda today, we have the presentation to Isaiah Palmer and Sean Adley. Sheriff Jeff Wood.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's always a pleasure to get to come and present when our deputies do things like this. I'm going to read you a real quick story. They're receiving a Medal of Merit. The Medal of Merit is an award for an act which results in saving a life, but involves no personal danger to the employee performing the act, which I kind of disagree with this one for that, but that's where it fit in. So on the evening of September 6th, 2018 at 21:09 hours, Deputy Isaiah Palmer and other county units were dispatched to 1977 North, 1740 West. The caller was a neighbor who advised he heard a window break at that address. After hearing the window break, he saw lights on in the home. Upon arrival, Sergeant Adley and Deputy Palmer observed the homeowner through the front window of the home walking around inside the residence. The homeowner shut off the lights to the home and would not answer the door. After requesting that homeowner answer the door, he asked who was there. Sergeant Adley advised him he was with the sheriff's office, and the homeowner yelled for law enforcement to go away. Sergeant Adley and Deputy Palmer could hear the male subject yelling inside the residence. This subject was known to us, and these actions were completely out of character for him. Sergeant Adley and Deputy Palmer walked to the front of the home and observed broken glass all over the ground. The glass to the window had broken from the inside, and all glass was spread outwards from the window. Sergeant Adley and Deputy Palmer tried to talk to him through the window, and he continued to yell at them, refusing to come to the door. At one point, the male subject threatened to shoot the deputies. At this time, the male subject was observed walking out of sight with no further response. While trying to communicate with him through the window, deputies heard a faint mumble and what sounded like gurgling. It sounded as if the male was attempting to hurt himself. At that point, Sergeant Adley and Deputy Palmer made entry through the back door of the residence. The door was unlocked and they entered into the back room. Deputy Palmer heard a noise in the closet of that room and opened the door. Deputy Palmer observed the male subject hanging from a closet bar. The subject had used his belt around his neck and was semi-conscious but no longer breathing. Deputy Palmer holstered his weapon and took out a knife, cutting the belt and assisting the male to the ground. Once on the ground, the subject started to breathe and fight with Sergeant Adley and Deputy Palmer. Once deputies were able to control the subject, medical was dispatched to the scene and he was assessed for his injuries and transported to Castleview. He was later admitted into the hospital due to taking an unknown amount of prescription pills and attempting to take his own life. There is no doubt that without the quick actions and decisions made by Deputy Isaiah Palmer and Sergeant Adley, this subject would have perished. So I'm very impressed with these two and what they did. They without hesitation took care of business, and so we wanted to recognize them for that and just kind of let the public know these are the kind of things we deal with every now and again. So anyway, with that said, that one's for Sean Adley, Isaiah Palmer. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know what to say, but I know that any deputy, any officer in this area, in that situation, would have done the exact same thing. We just happened to be the ones that were called to that situation, and we did what any one of us would have done.
Just kind of the same thing Isaiah just said. I don't think this is something that we would have done just by ourselves. I think any law enforcement officer would have done the same thing. Another note on this, Isaiah acted very quickly on this. As soon as he seen the subject in the closet, I mean, without hesitation, he cut him down, and then we tried to assist him medically as best we could without injuring ourselves or that subject. We've since dealt with this subject again. He thanks us every time he sees us, so hopefully he keeps up the good work of getting clean. So, but I'd like to thank the sheriff and everybody else, so appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do. Item number 2 on the agenda is approval of minutes. Commissioners, we have one set of minutes from the January 2nd, 2019 meeting.
I have no corrections. I'm good with them. I'll make the motion we accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 3 on the agenda, open sealed bids for Canal Westwood Subdivision Flood Control Project. Seth. Just for the information of the public, this is an emergency watershed protection project. It's federal money that is coming in to help with some of the flooding that happened a few years ago. We did a large project in Wellington a couple years ago. This project will go on, and then there's one other project that will follow along with it.
We received 6 bids for the Carbon Canal. The first one's from TSJ Construction out of Cleveland.
And this was who again?
This is TSJ Construction out of Cleveland.
Okay.
The total bid amount is $929,329. There's some other provisions here that they agree to pay, but that's the basics. This is from Brown Brothers Construction from Moa, Utah. And the total bid amount is $645,682.75. This bid's from Nelco. The total bid amount is $799,042.50. This is from Universal Business Insurance, Vancon. The total bid amount is $743,565, and it is Vancon. Feel like they should have some background music or something for this.
Larry, do you want to sing? Or?
This bid is from Nelson Construction, and the total amount is $767,000. $767,000. And this bid is from Perco. Is that right? Perco Rock out of Panguitch. And the total amount is $436,495. Those are all the bids we received for that Westwood subdivision project.
Commissioners, you typically, we acknowledge the bids, turn them over for review to the engineer and the consultants to make sure everything is in the, everything that we need is in the bid, and then we can either bring it back or we can allow it to go forward for construction, whatever you choose.
Chairman, I move that we acknowledge the bids. We have the engineering department to review them and make sure that they are complete, and then advise from that point.
Okay. Do you want them to bring it back to a commission meeting, or go ahead and move forward with, what is that called, Curtis? Yeah. Notice of award.
I'll amend my motion to say yes to go forward with the bid, the acceptance of the bid.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 4 on the agenda, open sealed bids for hauling of up to 650 tons of LMCRS-2 chip seal oil road department.
We didn't receive any bids for the hauling of the chip seal oil.
Okay. Daniel, do you recommend that we put it back out and reach out to
We emailed everybody, so the producers that we got provide the oil last year, we emailed them, Western Asphalt and Staker Parsons. I don't know why we don't have any bids.
Commissioners, if you put it out to bid, typically, and our procurement code provides this, at that point you can simply just find the best price available. You don't have to put it out to bid again. You can procure the material any way that you decide is going to be best and give you the best price at this point. And that's been our past practice as well. So you wouldn't have to put it out to bid again, although if you think that's going to get the best results, you certainly could do so.
I can call and give us price quotes and then email you three and Christian. So if you want to do that, then we can go from there.
I'd make the motion that we let Daniel reach out to everybody and get pricing and then get back to us with that.
Commissioner Jensen, I don't think your microphone is on.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Yep. All right. So I'd make that motion that Daniel contact everybody that could deliver it and get pricing from them, and then bring it back and let us look at it, make sure it's going to fit.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Do we want to word it in a commission meeting, or do we just want to?
No, I think as long as we've got a good price, that would be all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 5, open sealed bids for scrap metal removal from the landfill.
We received 2 bids. The first one's from Basin Industries. It says Basin Industries will pay $71 per net ton for all metal removed and will be paid within 2 weeks of cleanup completion. That's an overview of their bid there. Excuse me. This one's from Stevenson Metal Recycling. says $81 per 2,000 pounds, so $81 per ton for removal of scrap metal. See anything else on that? It's pretty straightforward to me.
One thing on basins, they didn't put on their proposal on how they was gonna deal with the CFCs. That might be something to consider also. Stevenson's states that they will be responsible for the removal of all CFCs and refrigerants, and removed CFCs will be done off of Carbon County's property. But theirs is higher also.
Did the bid request ask for that information?
It did.
It did.
What do you think, Christian?
Well, I think if you want to award the bid, you can, subject to a review by Daniel and myself and anybody else that you think might want to weigh in on it. But where it appears clear that we're going to get more for our money from one over the other, then I think you're free to award it, all other things being equal. Just maybe Daniel and I ought to check that, but then we could, if you don't mind, authorize Daniel to send out the same contract that we've sent the past couple years and award that. But I'd be happy to look at the bids, make sure we're comparing apples to apples. But otherwise, I think you can go ahead and award it here. I don't know that you need to bring it back here.
I'd make the motion, then we accept the low bid if it checks out. And
So
The high bid.
excuse me, the high bid. Yeah, we're going backwards, aren't we?
you're good. This one's a little different.
Okay. And just review that with Christian and go ahead and award it.
We have a motion?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 6, open sealed bids for paint striping of approximately 1 million linear feet of Carbon County roads.
We only received one bid. It's from Premier Striping, Inc.
Who was it from?
Premier. The unit price is 60, or is that 68 cents or?
No,
No.
0.068
Okay.
cents.
So it's 6.8 cents per foot, so $68,000. That was the only bid.
Only got one bid. I don't have any questions.
Daniel, is that price typical? Is that in line with what you've normally
Yeah, that's
seen?
what we paid for 2018. So, and Premier did it for 2018. They've been our striping contractor since 2012. They've got the bid every year.
So you're confident in their product? And
Yeah, and it's really nice. They don't charge us MOB. So all the other companies charge us MOB every time they come into Carbon County or jump from road to road. Premier never does. They just piggyback their paint on with other projects they got in the area, and then they stripe our roads. So it saves us a lot of money in the long run. MOB typically is around $4,000 each time they come in, is what the other companies on the average charge. So we're glad to have them.
thank you. I move that we acknowledge the bid, accept the bid, and move forward with the bid.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 7, open sealed bids, replacement tires for road and landfill operations for 1 year.
Received 2 bids.
Is that ours?
That one is 3 bids. This is from Jack's Tire and Oil out out of Orem. There's quite a bit of pricing on this bid for different tires. It's probably take a bit of time to go through all of it, but this is, like I said, from Jack's Tire and Oil.
See, Daniel, you had multiple tires that you were looking for, different sizes and things, so it'll be hard to put all that together in front of us right here, probably.
Yeah, it's got all of our drive tires, our stair tires, and our trailer tires on it. Looks like they listed 4 different groups of tires from Michelin to Uniroyal to BF Goodrich, so.
Second bid is from GCR Tire Centers. And they're out of price, it looks like. And the final bid's from Dinosaur Tire, out of price. And as I mentioned, there's quite a bit of pricing on these bids, so probably will need to be reviewed.
So I suppose it's possible that some of the tires would be, some might be cheaper from one and some might be cheaper from another, or might be the product we want. We might have different vendors providing the products here. I'm assuming that's a possibility, right?
Yeah, in 2017, GCR actually was awarded the bid for our trailer tires because they were cheaper than Dinosaur. And 2018, Dinosaur got it all the way across the board. So they was the cheapest on trailer and drive and stairs. So could be the same thing with this year too.
Maybe I'll make the motion that Daniel reviews those with myself and Christian and makes a decision based off of that to choose one of those vendors to buy from.
So just point of clarification, you have had multiple vendors for this, so that could be an option as well?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll second that motion then.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 8, Senior Center presentation by Michelle Goldsmith. As she's walking up, I want to thank everybody for quite a few of the people here tonight are here concerned about the Senior Center operations, and I appreciate you being here and being civically minded and fighting for things that you believe in. Thank you.
I'll basically just be reading this since I have a 10-minute limit.
Okay.
While we're waiting for the video to get started, I'd like to thank everybody who helped me in my research for this. I had a bit of a challenge with the government shutdown. A lot of the websites were not running as well as they usually do, so I had a lot of help from community people, so thanks everybody. So. We're going to start with a 1-minute video of a week at the Senior Center. right. Let's just go ahead and get started. I know you guys have a busy agenda. So this video shows who we are and some, but not all of the activities that we have at the senior centers. And we just want everybody to realize that this center is community for Carbon County. It's important to all of us. We invite you commissioners to come out and visit us on a regular basis. We are here to educate you about senior living. We realize that 2 of you didn't make the budget, and our goal is to convince you to amend the budget and bring back Friday activities. There is a concern that closing the East Carbon and Price senior centers on Fridays is costing the community money as seniors' mental and physical health is compromised. So the senior citizens, or the senior centers' primary focus is health, nutrition, and socialization. So here's the basics about seniors in our county. There's 3,420 seniors. I do not know, because I was unable to get the information from the employment people on how many of them are still working. But I can tell you that in November, 450 seniors attended the senior centers. Actual numbers are probably higher as the sign-in method sometimes misses, because sometimes we forget. We do have driving classes, drop-ins, health fairs, etc., that bring more seniors in that are not reflected in these numbers. On nutrition, not everyone who eats at East Carbon and Price Senior Centers qualifies for the Meals on Wheels program. Meals on Wheels is only for homebound seniors. It is not for the low-income seniors. The East Carbon and Price Senior Centers provide meals to low-income people who do not qualify for Meals on Wheels, as well as those who can afford meals. A $3 donation is asked, and who pays and who doesn't pay is confidential. Not all low-income people in Carbon County are able to access the food bank. On social issues, this one was a surprise to me. Older men, 45 to 54 and 75 and older, are tied for the highest group of completed suicides in Utah in 2005 to 2017. Each incomplete suicide costs our community about $40,000 in medical costs. Friday to Monday is a long time for someone who is depressed. Centers provide a safe place during the day. Family members don't worry about us when we are at the senior center. The senior centers are a micro-community to support each other, and when somebody is depressed, they can provide help for that person. Also, if somebody has a cancer diagnosis, they can provide assistance. Just talking to somebody sometimes is all that needs to happen. As far as the health, the senior citizens or the senior centers provide medical basics that saves the community money. Blood pressure, diabetes, hearing, exercise classes, and foot care are all provided free of charge by home health and hospice places. Being proactive is a good thing and saves money. I am retired, but I pay every month $725 for health insurance, and my deductible is $7,900. Like many seniors, I am reluctant to seek treatment because of cost concerns. So if I can get a blood pressure check, diabetes check for free, and use that, then that's great. And I have been in line when somebody in front of me has had a high blood pressure check or high diabetes number, and they're very good at counseling the people. You need to go see someone. Exercise classes improve balance and build muscle. This prevents the cost to community by lessening injuries due to falls. Another concern we have is with the cut in hours to 32 hours a week, that the staff turnover will increase. Advertising, interviewing, and hiring new people to work at the senior centers could be expensive. These are things that can be done to help bring money in. One is the Silver Sneakers program. United Health will pay 50% of the cost of going to a gym. We talked about that there is a community member, Dorothy Wilson, that in the past has worked with Silver Sneakers, and maybe we could talk to her and find out what we need to do to be qualified. The Zumba ladies have some money from going to coffee every week, and they are willing to maybe put in some of that money to help get somebody certified. Another thing we can do is raise the donation price of lunches from $1 to $2. Since this is a donation, it will not impact those in need. You know, another thing is paying a monthly rate. I just pay a certain amount every month, and then I'm covered. I never eat as much as what I contribute. Other things we could do is grants, and I was not able to come here to the county offices to look at what grants you have off of your computers, but I did find a healthy food financing targeted small grants program grant that's $25,000 to $250,000 through the Rural Health Information Hub. There is also an evidence-based falls prevention program financed by Prevention and Public Health Fund that's a $50,000 to $150,000 grant through the Rural Health Information Hub. Walmart gives grants up to $5,000. Select Health Insurance gives grants up to $2,500. Planting a garden to reduce costs of buying food would be a great idea. We always are talking about that space in front and how much it costs to maintain that grass. GrantWatch has 16 grants for seniors, including one that we could buy seeds with for a community garden. Creative ideas we've come up with to raise money is to use Kickstarter, GoFundMe. And with those, instead of just people giving and not getting anything back, we could, as you'd seen in our videos, send somebody, say, a scarf for a $100 donation or a quilt for a $1,000 donation. We could set up something like that quite easily. We're very creative. According to Commissioner Martinez, over $1 million in property tax has not been paid. You could train volunteer seniors and train them with confidentiality to call people with delinquent taxes. I have sat here in county commissioner meetings where family members have not been aware that the taxes were in arrears with their family. And once they found out, they were more than willing to pay. So when I went online and looked, there was 45 pages of property tax that had not been paid. Another idea is to rent out the center. Helper rents out its auditorium. The other day at coffee, I was meeting with someone, and she mentioned she tried to rent out a room at the senior center so she could teach jewelry classes. Creative ideas to improve our community. We could maybe go to half days on Fridays instead of full days. I recommend that we work with Four Corners to provide counseling services because we do have this high suicide rate with older people. And we could set up a senior booster club that maybe we can put in charge of Kickstarter, GoFundMe. I think we need a grief or depression group that maybe just meets once a week. And all these we could do through Four Corners. Setting up a men's coffee group at the senior center would, I think, be beneficial. But once again, come visit us. We can tell you about the county's history, for example, water history, road history, emergency services history, the history of the law, and of course, coal. Possible budget amendments. So we found out that the county has between 120 and 140 workers. The senior center's workers were the only ones who had their hours cut, and their staff has been cut to 32 hours per week. Most of the people that had their hours cut were women. We thought that maybe cutting county-wide travel by 10%. The budget is for $104,000 for travel, which comes out to $744 for each person. Where is this going and why? Couldn't you use online meetings? What is accomplished in the travel? We could cut 100% of the travel for the county commissioners or cut the commissioner's salary to $40,685, which is the salary for a female in Carbon County. Either lower your salary or cut your travel and phone expense. Another thing we noticed was $39,675 went to telephones in the county for this year. That's each person for $283. I'm a volunteer that drives VA vehicles up to the VA and takes people to their appointments there. We carry flip phones in the vans. If we want a better phone, we use our own. We think that maybe the county employees could do the same thing. And then utilities, $591,000 for the 20 buildings I believe the county has. We suggest that you get with the Dark Skies and map your lights the way Helper has. Paul Ricketts from the University of Utah mentioned last weekend that he believes Salt Lake City area has cut their costs by $1 million following the Stark Skies plan. You could check into solar. Also, check into the $10,000 of water at the gun range. Except for this, we think the gun range is doing just fine. Lastly, thank you for letting us use the center last Friday. There were 18 of us who attended exercise in the hallway and in the one little room. It was crowded. We were dancing in the halls, but we appreciate you letting us in. So thank you for your time and listening to us. We hope you amend the budget.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you want to say anything, or this is obviously something that we've looked at. It was not an easy decision. I was part of the commission at the time that made the decision. We asked all of the departments to cut their budgets by 15%, and these were the cuts that the department had, and I'm not blaming her because this was the proposal that she had brought to us, and that's where this came from, but we made the decision. So it's not an easy decision, and I know how much it impacts all of you. I do attend out there. I've played bottle pool. I've attended some of the other functions, and I've had several meals. I even let you throw pies at my face. So it's not something that we take lightly, but we appreciate the concern. Commissioners?
Yeah, I appreciate your interest, and you know, you're the heart of this community, and many of you have built it. So we really are trying to figure out what can be done here. There's no question that the income to the county is below what it costs to run the county, and that's the dilemma as we try to figure out how to move forward and not spend the reserves that are there. You know, there's probably always room for improvement and ways to change, and so you've given us some good ideas here to look at, and we'll look at them to try to figure out what we can do. There's not an easy answer, but there are some services countywide that we have no choice to provide, and others that are not totally a necessity, but more of recreation and things that our families would do. So it's not, this is new enough to me that I don't have a good answer for you yet, but it's certainly not something that I would not continue to look at close and see if there's something that can be done to help out.
Yeah, I agree. I've been out to the senior center. I know a lot of the people here tonight that have also been out there at that senior center. It's a fantastic facility. We were talking that it's probably one of the nicest ones in the state, and it's probably the nicest one in the western United States. It's a great facility. We need to keep it open, but the realities of it are that the county right now has $47 million worth of debt on buildings and projects in the county. The mineral lease money has gone for anywhere from 15 down to just barely over 2, I think. So it's like if you took on a new job but still had the same debt, but your revenue wasn't the same. You have to juggle things. None of us want to close any of the services, any of the facilities here, but it is quite a game trying to attract new industry to come into this area to hopefully offset some of the losses that we've had. It would be nice if we had a wand that could just wave it and say, okay, this business is going to be here tomorrow. There's a lot of groundwork that has to happen. So again, none of us want to close any of the facilities down, but we're faced with a lot of hard realities that we have to deal with. So Ms. Goldsmith, appreciate you organizing this, bringing it to us. I was going to say to our attention, but it has been on our radar. I know budgets have been cut how many years now that they reduced their budgets?
Every year since I've been in office, we've reduced budgets.
So last year they reduced it, what, 1.7 million? And that was not just one department, that was through all departments. So when you take that kind of money out, obviously there's going to be an effect. So we are going to do our best to make this area better, which in turn will make the senior center better as well. Like Larry said, we don't have any good answers for you right now. We're not going to make any promises that we can't keep, though, either. So we appreciate your time, and we'll do our best to move forward.
Interestingly, quite a while ago, Carbon County had the highest per capita income in the state. We had a very high income because of our energy and extraction industry. Today, we're not quite there. Robbie Jensen has provided us with some other details, because we're looking at other counties and what other facilities and what they do. Duchesne and Uinta County both operate 5 days a week. And then the rest of the counties throughout the state, and Kane County offers 5 days a week as well. Cache County depends on which center. It ranges from 1 to 5 days depending. They have multiple centers, kind of like Emery County does. We have multiple centers, but in Emery County they have 5 facilities, one of which has 2 meals a week, and the rest of them have 1 day a week. And then the rest of the counties range from 4 to 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So there's no real set standard on what we have to provide or what to do, but we appreciate you bringing this. Thanks. And with that, if anybody wants to leave, we're not going to hold you hostage. You can get up and leave, and we'll move on with the agenda as soon as we get everybody out. If you'd like to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. Can you provide a copy of that, or? On the internet, so in 2016?
pertaining to economic development in the Utah State Legislature and with respect to other administrative programs that might relate to our participation in economic development. So, for example, they could alert us to programs we might not know about, or grant opportunities, or suggest to us when a legislator is about to propose something or has ideas to change things, or maybe even give us an opportunity or a heads up about things that we might propose to legislators. So that's the kind of one of the main parts of my changes. In speaking with some of you about the agreement, I also agree that the agreement should be changed so that venue of any dispute pertaining to the agreement should be here in Carbon County, because it pertains to what we're doing here in Carbon County. So I've changed that to say that venue would be in Carbon County rather than Salt Lake County. So those are that's the bulk of the changes. Some of them are just a couple of minor grammatical changes.
The changes with respect to the 5 days, was there any change
Oh,
to that?
yes, you suggested to me that we change that, or suggest back to them that the contract, there's a provision in there that says if payment is more than 5 days late, then the contract ends, and then we don't, and then we still have to pay them for not providing services. That seems, and I agree with Commissioner Hopes, that seems extremely harsh with respect to the way they've got that written. I would suggest we ask for at least 15 or maybe even 30 days in the event that there's a late payment. Sometimes, by virtue of how many payments our clerk's office processes, it's just, you wouldn't believe it unless you went down there and saw it. Payments do sometimes slip through the cracks. So I agree that we should ask for them to amend that to give us more time. If
I would be more comfortable with 30 days.
I'll suggest that to them.
Okay.
And Rita, I don't know if you Rita might have some comments or some thoughts on that, or I don't know if she's had discussions since I've given you my suggestions, or anything to add that I didn't add.
So I was just going to answer any questions that you guys had about the contract. I know that you guys, I've kind of talked with each of you about the concept and the idea, and why I think it would be beneficial to participate in this program. It's somewhat of a pilot program with UAC, and so it's, again, fairly new, but so I just wanted to be here and answer any questions that you guys may have. And as far as the payments, I don't think that would be an issue with them. I know that when I spoke with their COO, she just said, you know, if you guys have any issues with any of the contract, you know, don't hesitate to let us know. It's, you know, definitely a negotiation as far as that goes.
So I'll give unless you have any other ones, I'll provide a new draft to Rita tomorrow that she can send up to them, and then we can see what they say.
Yeah, she just said that if we wanted to make the changes that we had, I mean, we could sign it and send it up. If they had any issues, they would let us know, but
maybe that's what we ought to do, is put in our changes, sign it, and send it to them, and assume they'll be good with them.
And they'll let us know if not. So. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on anything? Okay.
I don't have any.
We have a motion.
I'll make the motion that we make the changes that Christian has indicated, and sign it and send it up, see if it's acceptable to them.
We have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now item number 10, consideration of possible approval of a Utah Department of Human Services contract for continuation of funding for the Utah Transition Age Youth Empowered to Succeed program for Four Corners Behavioral Health. Karen.
Hi.
Thanks.
I'm here to get your signature for the Utah Yes Grant. This is our 5th year of a 5-year federal grant aimed at helping young people. So mental illness usually starts between the ages of 15 to 25. And in the past, what we've had has been services after somebody has their first psychotic break, and typically involves law enforcement, getting somebody to the hospital, and it's really traumatic. So this grant has helped us get services to youth long before that happens. We've served about 290 youth in the last 3 years, And it's more than, sometimes a serious mental illness diagnosis means that you have a disability check and medications that make you gain 100 pounds. That's kind of what people have had to look forward to. So this grant kind of changes the trajectory of the mental illness. So they're getting support, they're getting medications, they're getting treatment that helps them manage their symptoms and also help living their dreams. So if they want to live independently or go to school or get an education, training, a job, so to kind of preempt that severe disability that comes along with mental illness. So our narrow pathways are carved by our experiences, and if somebody has a lot of really intense psychotic breaks before they get the help they need, there's damage. So this grant helps get services and intervention early, and it changes the trajectory of the mental illness. So it's been a really great grant. This is our last year. We've hired a few therapists, case managers, peer support people, and have also had funding to help people get back to school and live their dreams. So we're really excited about this prevention mental health grant. And after it's gone, so we have one more year, and this is for the last final year, we'll continue to do business like that, and we'll have other funding sources to maintain our employees. So I'm here for signature.
Probably need a motion before we can approve, or approval before we can sign it, but
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we enter into that agreement with you and sign that.
I'll second that.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you received a DocuSign thing. They really want them all DocuSigned.
I haven't.
So I'll have you sign this, and then we'll figure it
Okay.
out.
Okay. Do you know when they sent that? Okay. It might be there.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Item number 11, appointment of vacancies on county boards and consideration of possible approval of resolution 2019-01 with names of persons appointed to the board. Commissioners, we have 3 boards that need, or that we re-advertised for. One is one vacancy on the Planning Commission, one on the Recreation Transportation Special Service District, and one on the Housing Authority Board. We'll take those individually. We'll start with the Recreation Transportation Special Service District. We received one applicant for this, and that is Pace Hansen. Pace has served on the board before, I think for over 25 years. He's done a great job. Just as some history.
Yeah, it's 28 years.
28 years.
So, Chairman, I'll move that we accept the application for Mr. Hansen and appoint him to that board.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Second board that we'll look at is let's go to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has 2 applicants, Jeff Peters and Lena Topolovic.
And I believe this is for, officially, this is for the position of an alternate on the Planning Commission, correct?
Yeah, it's for the alternate position.
Unless we have some discussion, I would like to recognize Lena Topolovic, who has served on that for lots of years. She's been away for a little while, but I think our goal of trying to involve new people and allow them to get involved, I'd make the motion that we approve Jeff Peters to serve on that Planning Commission.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. The third board position that we have available is the Housing Authority Board. We only had one applicant, and that was Jeff Peters.
he was willing to serve on either one. I'm kind of thinking that maybe we ought to let him serve on the one on the planning board, but not both. Well, I suggest that we search for another person to help serve on the Housing Authority Board.
So just re-advertise for that board position. Okay. I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now I believe we need a resolution, a motion to approve a resolution 2019-01. Officially appointing, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's supposed to simply document everybody that's been appointed, and so we may need to pass another one later once we get somebody on the Housing Authority. But for now, I would recommend that you pass that, and we've at least got that in place, and we can amend it and supplement it as we need to as we appoint other people.
That covers both for today, and you can add to it
And
later.
previous ones that we've made earlier in the year as well. So it's a resolution that covers everybody that's been appointed to commence a term starting in 2019.
Well, I'd make the motion that we adopt that resolution, 2019-01, for approval.
Christian, do we need to name the people on those boards, or just the acknowledge in the resolution?
You know, we have them. They're in the minutes from previous meetings, so I don't know that you need to name those.
Okay.
So we've got them. I don't know that anybody can name them off the top of their heads, so I don't think that's necessary. I think you can just approve the resolution, which will contain the names of all persons who have been nominated to a board to start this year.
Okay, thank you. I'll second Larry's, Commissioner Jensen's, motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 12, consideration and possible approval of a memorandum of understanding with Sanpete County to share royalty revenues from Skyline Mine. Christian, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Commissioners, as you know, the Skyline Mine is both partly in Carbon County and in Sanpete County, and I believe part of it might be in Emery County as well. But currently mining is taking place, or has begun to take place, in Sanpete County. But all of that coal that comes out from Sanpete County comes out of the portal that's in Carbon County and goes to market along roads in Carbon County. And so because that coal that's pulled out of there is pulled out under a federal lease, the state of Utah is entitled to a portion of the bonuses and royalties paid under that federal lease through the federal government. And then a portion of the money that's given to the state of Utah is given to special service districts within counties that are impacted by the extraction of that coal. And so because we continue to be impacted by that coal, even though it might not be pulled out of the mine within the boundaries of Carbon County, there's been a long-standing recognition between our county and other counties that we should continue to receive some royalty or a portion of that payment, mineral lease payment that comes from the state. So this agreement reflects what you have negotiated with the Sanpete County Commissioners, in that Sanpete County is to receive 60% of the mineral lease payments made by the state of Utah to a county's special service district, and Carbon County is to receive 40% of the mineral lease royalties. And so this 60-40 split has been done elsewhere. It's been ordered for example, in a court case involving Emery County and Carbon County. And I know there's been a fair amount of work in negotiating this and making sure this, and coming to an agreement that we can memorialize in writing between both counties. So I've come up with a draft. This draft has not yet been approved by Sanpete County, but it is a starting point, and it has the basic numbers that are at that matter. So Commissioner Hopes, you mentioned to me that before the meeting that it was very important that we make clear that this agreement should last for as long as and at any time that mine is that coal is brought out of the Sanpete portion through the Carbon County portal. So I'm going to change the language just a little bit to state that this agreement's to be permanent and provide for that same 60-40 split in every occasion and forever for as long as coal comes out of there from the Sanpete County side. But otherwise, that's the gist of it. It's as simple as that. It simply provides for the 60-40 split between our counties.
Do we have any questions?
No. I'll make a motion, Chairman, that we recognize the MOU and that suggestions you've made that Christian's going to enter, and that does get sent to Sanpete for their consideration and signage.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 13, consideration and possible approval of a credit card for Robbie Jensen, who is the Senior Center Director, and Kim Wilcox, who works out at the animal shelter.
I'll make the motion. We approve that.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 14, consideration and possible approval of a letter in support of application for conservation easement. Christian.
Commissioners, you received a request from the Mathis family, who is entering into, either has or is about to enter into, a conservation easement under provisions of state law that allow them to do so. The purpose of a conservation easement is to dedicate land in perpetuity for its preservation as open space or historic agricultural or cultural use. So typically this is pristine farmland, forest land, hunting ground, and the purpose of it is to protect it from further development. So as I've looked at their request and what they're asking for, is they've asked the county commission to support what they've termed a conservation easement. I think what they're really asking you for, though, is that you support their application for inclusion in the state of Utah's Forest Legacy Program. And that is because anybody can form a conservation easement by giving an easement to a 501c3 party that promises to preserve the property for those purposes. But not everybody can be included in the Forest Legacy Program. You have to submit a management plan and your conservation easement, and then the state has a 172-page guide, implementation guide, about what the Forest Legacy Program does and how you take part in it and what the benefits are and what it takes to be recognized. And so I think that's really what they're asking for here. I think we've written a similar letter several years ago, about 5 years ago, for another property owner. It doesn't take your approval to get a conservation easement. It only takes your approval to get a forest to be, well, it doesn't take your approval necessarily to be included in this Forest Legacy Program, but I think they're asking for your support in that. This is an area that, as I understand, is historically been carefully preserved as a forest and meticulously managed to keep the forest area healthy, and I think it's the intent of the family that continue. So my only concern is that I would suggest that you have a chance to review the conservation easement and to review the forest management plan that they intend to submit, to make sure that it matches up with what the county has in its general plan with respect to this kind of area, and make sure you feel comfortable with the purposes that are stated in it. Because as of this point, we haven't seen either of those documents. We haven't seen a conservation easement or a forest management plan. So my suggestion would be that we contact the family, ask them to get those documents to us. But I think you could go ahead tonight and make a motion to approve giving your support conditional upon your review that their plan is compatible with our general plan, or in other words, it doesn't contradict our general plan or otherwise cause any harm to Carbon County. I don't expect it will. We know the general broad outlines of what they're trying to accomplish, and provided everything that they officially have prepared meets all of that, I think you could go ahead and send a letter of support to the state. And it's specifically the Fire, Forestry, and Lands Department that manages the Forest Legacy Program in conjunction with the United States Forest Service.
I don't have a problem with it. I think based off the recommendations, I'm okay with that. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see some more information, make sure that everything is compatible with, and we line up. But on concept, I'm okay with.
Then I'll make the motion that we contact them and request those documents from them to review, and if they look okay, to approve it, or to send the letter to the state.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 15, review and possible approval of a 2019 Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness Grant application. Justin. Good thing we put you last on the agenda.
Of course. So as usual, this is to ask you if I can apply for the HMEP grant. This grant, it's a 80-20 match, so they give us $4,000, we contribute $800. This goes to the training for our TASMAT team. We can send them off to both Baltimore for the hazmat conference and also the public safety summits that's held here in state. To meet this, we have to have a regular LEPC that meets. We meet every quarter, well, every other month. So we meet those requirements for this, and this is just for your signature to apply for that grant.
And you've got in your budget that $800 that we need to come up with.
Yep.
To match it.
Yes.
Okay.
It was part of the budgeting. It was figured into our budgets
You knew it was coming,
this year.
huh?
Yep. It's one that we get almost every year, so we planned on it.
I'll move that we sign this and let Justin's department apply for this grant.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And you guys have the one you need to sign.
Do you have a copy of it?
Yes.
You can leave with us? Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yes, that's right.
And that, Commissioners, leads us to our last item, agenda on the item, and that's to adjourn.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Drive safe and buckle up.
Thank you.
Thank you, see you later.
What's that? No Arby's tonight?
Commissioners, I'd like to recommend that you either turn your microphones up or speak louder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was it loud out there at all?
Couldn't hear it all. I can hear these people here shuffling paper.
Okay. Maybe what we need to do too is turn up the speakers out
I can
there.
hear Christian speak, and I can hear the people speaking here, but I couldn't.
Well, mine wasn't on at first. I'm not smart enough to know.
It'll make no difference.
Okay.
Okay. That's good feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.